Teagues, what's going on, man? How's living? How's stuff? How's things? How's shit?
I'm doing okay as can be here at the end of democracy. How are you?
Hey, could we not do that at the beginning of every podcast, please? I know it, you know it, the American people know that it is the end of democracy, but we don't have to remind them at every podcast.
Fine.
Can we for once say and talk and intro the show in an uplifting fashion? Just say no, we'll move on. It is the Teeves and Kid Phoenix versus podcast. I am Kid Phoenix. Teeves and his dystopian self are with me as always. First and foremost, Teeves, it was nice to see you in the city of brotherly love. Some people were disappointed that there was not more live content, but true or false, that's kind of what happens when there's epic food to be consumed in one shot.
That is true. And we did some live content. And luckily, if some of you got on, you saw me with no help at all by my lonesome.
All right.
Take down 8 robot masters in Mega Man 2.
That's right. We did do a little Mega Man 2 over the Thanksgiving break while Tees was here, but now we're back and it's time to get back into the nerditry and all the haps going on. And one platform that I've been following more than any in recent weeks, months, whatever, is TikTok, which is funny considering that it may not be a thing after January 20th, but we'll talk about that probably at a later point. But there is a follower on there that I frequent. It's Straw Hat and Goofy. Shout out to Straw Hat Goofy. I came across a TikTok from him, sent it to Teeves, and I said, you know what? This may be a podcast idea that we could expand on because, as you know, TikTok is only like 3 minutes. So,
By the way, Straw Hat Goofy, great name.
great name. That's a
phenomenal name.
It's a One Piece reference. I myself am not a One Piece fan, but I understand the fandom. If you like it, that's your thing. Thumbs up to you.
Wait. Straw Hat Luffy or Straw Hat Goofy?
So his name on TikTok is Straw Hat Goofy, but it is in fact a reference, you are correct, to Straw Hat Luffy on One Piece. It's a little play on words he does, and I appreciate it. He's taking shots. He's taking swings.
Nice work.
Unlike, you see the segue here, unlike much of Hollywood, and they're not really taking swings.
Wow. You're getting quite a reputation as the master of the segue.
Listen, I worked in radio for how many years? Like, that's kind of my thing. It's what I do. I'm media trained. What can I say?
All right.
So the premise, the prompt, as we like to call them for these podcasts, is, you know, what?
Professional terminology and lingo and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, man. Like I said, what is this season dubbed? The season of what? Standardization, monetization. So to do that, we have to be professional. Like, exactly, that's right. So the prompt here is all 10 of the highest grossing films of 2024, domestically, mind you, only in the United States, are sequels in some manner. They're either direct sequels like Inside Out 2, Moana 2, Despicable Me 4, etc., or they're more nostalgia sequels like Twisters or, you know, Furiosa, Mad Max Fury Road sequels 20, 30 years after the original.
Furiosa is not on this list. I'm telling you right now.
Maybe a prequel then. Whatever you want to count Furiosa. I'm just saying
Furiosa is not on the list of the top 10 of this year. Not even close.
Not even close, but okay. Still, and we've talked about this before. The quote unquote death of cinema, or the quote unquote death of taking shots by Hollywood. And it got me to thinking, and we've done podcasts on sequels before. And let's start with the fundamental question. Teeves, what is the responsibility of a good sequel in your estimation?
So let's look at some of the great sequels. Let's look at Godfather 2, which expands on all the thoughts and also brings more backstory into the picture so that you see more of the picture. So basically it expands the picture from the first story. So that I think is one thing you can do with a sequel. Let's look at Aliens, which also kind of expands the scope and adds new elements. The same with Terminator 2. What are some other great sequels?
With those two, Aliens and T2, those are kind of sequels that not only expand the universe,
Hmm.
but they also increase the level of scale,
Right.
so to speak. There's a big jump in terms of technology and I don't want to say threat, but that's the only word I can come up with.
Yeah. I mean, it's like
The threat is magnified by a factor of 10 at least.
when you watch the Fast and the Furious, you're
Okay,
like,
why? Why?
this is just some stuff that's going down in LA. Clearly, this is just an LA thing. But then, hold on,
He's just like to poke fun at one of my favorite franchises.
Too Fast, Too Furious. Oh, wait a minute, we're doing this in Miami also.
We're doing this in
Wow,
Miami also. This
that's
also
crazy.
happens in Miami.
That is incredible. Or Die Hard 2. You know, instead of just terrorists taking over one building, they take over an entire
Entire
airport,
airport, yeah.
which is comprised of multiple buildings.
So I kind of like where you're going with that. The idea of the threat level being increased from, from Alien, you had the one alien, and now in Aliens you have the like pack, the crew of aliens, so to speak. And in Terminator 2, it's just that the lethalness of the Terminator increases by a factor of 10.
For a sequel to justify its existence, it has to either expand on what the first one did, add something new to what the first one did, or go deeper into the story of the first one and extract so that you can extract other themes and ideas from the two movies as a collective.
So I understand all of that, and I definitely agree with that. That's my favorite parts about sequels. But then I also understand that there is a monetary slash fiduciary element to. That's right, yeah, journalism major. The
I don't know if
fiduciary
fiduciary is
responsibility.
the word
Okay,
you want to go with
okay,
there.
all right, okay. There's the monetary function of the
There you
sequel.
go.
This first movie made money, so obviously subsequent films under this IP will also make money. I don't know these days, and I don't know how you feel about it, but to me, it's seeming that the scale, so to speak, on one end you have advancing the story, and on the other side of the scale you have making money. I feel that in the last, I don't know, decade or so, the scale has been tipped largely into just sequels. This thing made a bunch of money. Let's just do another one and keep making money off of this original idea. Is that
Well,
a fair thing to say?
I don't know. I feel like if movies reach a certain threshold of money, if a movie's successful in any way, shape, or form, they're going to find a way to try to franchise it and try to spin it off into different things. And perfect example of this, I think, is the television show Dune Prophecy, which I mean is a fine show. It's an okay show. It's a little bit boring, but honestly, the appeal of Dune is seeing that particular vision on a big screen and experiencing it like with your whole face.
Right.
If you like when you stop to sit down to actually start thinking about the ins and outs of how this universe operates, which is kind of seems to be what Dune Prophecy is about. It's like a lot of this doesn't make sense. Now, that's not to say that the stuff that's written doesn't make sense. There's just a ton of backstory that makes things make sense, but just on the surface, like you're like, what is going on here? This is not making sense.
This is the thing that I struggle with Dune Prophecy, and that's probably, and we'll continue, we'll get back on track. But after watching Dune and Dune 2, I still don't have the kind of reference that a lot of people, Dune fans, have with this franchise. So the prequel story of how the Bene Gesserit was founded, I don't know how appealing that is to me, for example.
And
If
I don't know.
if you're trying to get deep into the Dune lore, sure. But we like to say this, the casual Dune person, are they
I
really gonna get into the Bene Gesserit like that?
I don't. I think that might have been the wrong point in the periods before Dune to start a show.
Okay.
I think a much more interesting point to start the show would have been right after the war with the machines, when the houses are getting set up and like everything is getting set up for what would eventually happen in Dune. Like you see how the Harkonnens become the Harkonnens, how the Atreides family becomes the Atreides family, how the Emperor becomes the Emperor, or how that family holds the Imperial, like that stuff. Like especially if you're trying to get into the Game of Thrones of it all,
Right.
is interesting. I still feel like, and I don't know, I just don't think that obviously that story would cost a lot more. And this
Yes.
Benny Gesserit story is definitely, while expensive, not on the same scale as that would have been. But if you're not going to pay the money to make a Dune show, don't make a Dune show. You
Yeah,
know what I
yeah.
mean? Like there's a certain level you got to be at if you're going to live and put characters in this world. And if, pardon me, and if you're not at that level, don't do the show. Like, period.
And this is the thing that I have come across with like sequels and some of the most recent things. And the biggest fail, I would say, is, Joker 2, right? Joker 2 came out, and I don't want to say the overwhelming response, but the most common response was, why did this need a sequel? And the only answer that a lot of people could come out up with is the first Joker movie made a ton of money.
Made
So
$1 billion.
obviously we have to make a sequel for it. No, not so much. Like, I think that there was a way to do a Joker sequel, but how they did it with Folie à Deux was not it. It was not hitting correctly.
I don't think Joker needed to exist, let alone Joker 2.
Right. And there's also this Disney is probably the one of the bigger violators for me, just because not the MCU, we'll get to that in a second, but like Disney proper. Because Teebs, are you interested in a live action Lilo and Stitch?
All right, here's the thing about the Disney live action remakes.
Maybe we're just not the target demo.
It's not even that we're not the target demo, it's that it's different. And I think it works on a different level because no, you and I are not interested in a live action Lilo and Stitch. We have a Lilo and Stitch that we like. The
Right.
point is Disney is very shrewd and they understand that there is a certain window that if you hit people in that window, you're going to own their nostalgia spot forever. So
Yeah.
they're trying to hit people that are like in the 8 to 13 range with a Moana of their own or a Lilo and Stitch of their own that they feel like is theirs, and so that yes, you'll get the parents to come in, but also you'll get this new generation loving Lilo and Stitch. That way in 30 years you get to do another Lilo and Stitch.
Okay.
It's a long game with them. Like the story is fine. Like I don't think any of the live action versions really trod upon anything in the animated versions. We have the animated versions if we want to watch them, and we have the live action versions if people want to watch those. And generations can debate about which one is better or which one they like more. But the fact of the matter is, our people like the animated version, they may like the live action version. In 30 years, they might like the all AI version. Who knows? But that
I see what you're saying with this, especially when it comes to. I was going to bring this up because the trailer dropped last week, but Snow White. You think Disney's trying to do the same thing where a lot of people grew up with the animated Snow White. Now, this live action Snow White, it's the Snow White for this upcoming generation, similar to like Mufasa live action too.
bottom line is Disney is not really in the movie making business. Movie making is just a part of what Disney does, but also Disney is in the princess selling business. So they need updated versions of that princess so that they can sell princess merchandise. And that's all this iteration of Disney is, right? So maybe back in the day you could have said it was about, wonder or something like that. I even doubt then. I doubt if at any point there was anything like, we really want to make this magical for the kids and like money doesn't really matter. Like I don't think that was ever part of it. But now it's like nakedly, let's make as much money from this as possible. How do we do that? We have this IP. How do we make as much money from it as possible? That's Disney's whole MO with everything they own.
Right. So instead of, and again, we argue and we kind of complain about this a lot, but like the not coming up with new things. Like if you say they're in the princess business, then they have to come up with a whole new princess, sell the princess, sell that idea, and then hope that they make money off of it.
Right, and that's hard. Like you don't know if that new princess people are going to like them. Snow White has a built-in fan base, so you just crank out a new Snow White. You can sell new princess merchandise, and then you're
Snow
and
White has a
old princess merchandise.
Snow White has a built-in fan base. Cinderella has a built-in fan base. Ariel has a built-in fan base. Yes.
To a certain extent, I mean, there's a fan base of people that will take their daughters or their sons to go see Cinderella. Like it's much harder to get over, I don't know,
But
Jamina, the new princess. I mean, there's a certain
wow,
cachet.
Jamina, Jesus.
I just reach for a name. Leave me alone. There's a certain cachet to have to there being a new princess and a new princess story, but ultimately, it's too big a risk, and like you got too much shit that's hinging
But
on this being a success.
can I play devil's advocate a little bit? The live action Aladdin, Will Smith aside, I don't remember that hitting too well. Do you?
They're not all gonna hit, but and admittedly, Aladdin probably wasn't the best one to do because it's got the whole Robin Williams thing.
Yeah, it's hard to duplicate what Robin did for that movie.
And when it came out, Will Smith was in a weird place in his career. So it just had a
Post
lot
slap.
it just had a lot of strikes against it. But the thing that I don't like that Disney is doing is stuff like Mufasa the Lion King, which or yeah, that's the name of the movie, Mufasa the
Yes, yes,
Lion.
yes, yes,
Like
yes. It is.
I don't mind you doing a backstory of the Lion King, but what I think I mind is the like live action, like not live action with the animals. Like
Yeah.
I don't
It
love
it
that.
it looked a little weird. Not in a bad way. It was just like that's the way they're going with
I
that.
don't know if
Okay.
I mean like this would have worked fine. Like this would have worked fine as just hand drawn animation. Hey Disney, how about hand drawn animation? There's something you haven't done in a while.
There are other sequels that hit the nostalgia category, and Top Gun Maverick was a great example of this. That is something that not only it brought in the nostalgia of the original Top Gun movie, but somehow it advanced the story of Maverick 30 years after the fact. And I think
I mean,
they did a wonderful job with that, to the point where I'm sitting here like, damn, are we getting a Top Gun Maverick sequel? Because I want to see what happens to the Miles Teller character, the continuation of Maverick as he gets older, and like, what's he is he going to become the uh the Michael Ironside kind of character now?
so that's the thing. Like that's a movie that again that went into more depth with those characters. It actually used the 30-year gap to its benefit instead of trying to ignore it or whatever. Instead of something like Beetlejuice, which is like
Right,
doesn't really, I mean, it does try to expand the lore,
kinda.
but it expands, but it's trying to expand so much that like it just becomes static and like
Yeah,
nothing even there's nothing to connect to. I mean, yeah, there's Beetlejuice, but he's pretty much doing his same shtick. You don't learn anything significantly new about him except that he's got a wife for some reason, that she's killed people for some reason. Spoilers, sorry.
listen, no,
That's
no,
why,
we don't do spoiler alerts on this show. Like, come on, like Beetlejuice has been
right?
out in the theater. It's on Max. Like, whatever. But
Like,
continue.
if they would have stuck with one of those threads, then I think. But you can't because they're kind. And I feel the same way about Frozen Empire. It's like, okay, well, Catherine O'Hara needs her moment, and Winona Ryder needs her moment, and Wednesday needs her moment. Beetlejuice needs moments, and like with Frozen Empire, it's like Venkman has to have a moment. Ray has to have a like not you can't.
And then they have to advance the story with Egon's granddaughter and Paul Rudd. They have to do all of that like simultaneously
That's the
while
problem.
giving shine to the older characters that are to a lesser to a lesser point putting they're the guys that putting the asses in the seats.
But fundamentally, the point of making a sequel, that's what you want to explore things that you didn't explore or that you didn't have the opportunity to explore the first time out. Not let's just show a bunch of people shit they've already seen before. I mean, Ghostbusters exists. I can go watch it. It's way better than anything going on in Frozen Empire. Like,
So, what do you think of the sequel? You know, like a Top Gun Maverick, like a Twisters, maybe like a Mad Max Fury Road, and they come out and I don't want to say it's like shot for shot, point for point, but like kinda. But the technology in 2024 makes it feel way more immersive than when these
I don't
original
know about
stories
that.
came out.
I don't know about that. Mad Max Fury Road could have been made.
It did kind of feel like Thunderdome a little bit, but
Advancements in camera technology allow you to do things that you couldn't that allow you to do things easier than you could have done them in 82 and 86.
six.
But
Totally agree.
it's not like you could not have done those movies in the 80s. They would have been expensive as hell, but you could have done them. I think the Mad Max stories is a bad example because fundamentally I feel like of everyone, George Miller is making he's making movies pretty much the same way he was making them back in the day. And that's what I like. Like I have loved I love Furiosa. I think Furiosa is actually a good sequel because you go deeper into the lore, you find out more, it expands things, and it does everything that a sequel is supposed to do.
And that's what I didn't understand, like why people didn't like Furiosa that much. Like I thought Furiosa to me was fucking incredible. I loved that movie.
I don't know, maybe it was too long, maybe the gap between Mad Max Fury Road and Furiosa was too much, but I'm telling you, in 20 years, you're going to be like, yo, I saw Furiosa in the theater, and they're going to be like, what?
I saw Furiosa in IMAX. That shit was incredible.
Well, in 20 years, I'm going to say, I saw Furiosa in the theater, and they're going to say, what's a theater? And I'm going to have to explain what a movie theater is.
Yeah, because in 20 years people are gonna have like movies like directly beamed into their eyeballs.
Exactly.
Uh, can we talk about the MCU real quick? Because I mean, it kind of leads to it. I have, and Teeves is already shaking his head, but
I'm just shaking my head because I think we need to have, we need like, we need a streak of podcasts where we don't talk about the MCU,
we
but like,
really do. We really do.
it's
It's hard
okay.
out there. I'll get to that point in a second. But we talk about sequels and why studios are making sequels, and it leads to this question about the MCU. Are they struggling because they're trying to do two things at once? Advance a story and make money. And thusly, personally, I feel like they're suffering a little bit with some of the fan base because they don't take enough swings to advance the right story or advance the story effectively. And then they fall back to what we like to refer to as the money making checklist.
Okay, well, listen. With the MCU is different because everything pre-Avengers.
Endgame.
No, pre-Avengers 2012.
Pre OG Avengers, 2012 Avengers.
Again, Iron Man got two of his own movies, Captain America got his own movie, and Thor got his own movie. Nobody else's face was showing up in their movies until
Right.
Avengers, right? Then after Avengers, Iron Man 3 even doesn't have too much stuff in it. Neither does Cap 2,
Cap
neither does Thor
2.
2.
Now,
It's
when you
like
say when you say there's no other faces, are you talking about like end credits or are you talking about like characters that are in the movie?
that's what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is Doctor Strange didn't have to share Doctor Strange 2 with Scarlet Witch.
Right.
Captain America didn't have to share Captain America now has to share Captain America 3 with everyone. Literally everyone.
Civil War is basically an Avengers movie
Right. Thor has to share Thor 4 or
with,
Thor 3 with Hulk. Right? Like,
and then has to share Thor 4 with the Guardians.
right. So I think all Marvel needs to do is get back to being character focused, which is what put them over in the first place. Just movies where they're focused on a single character and their problems rather than trying to build out this entire universe. Like the universe, the world building will come,
It's there. It's built in. It's there because of all of the canon and all the comic books. It's there.
but like just like with this Fantastic Four movie, I'll be happy if I don't see any other MCU representation.
If it's just a Fantastic Four and maybe like RDJ at the end because we all know it's coming, like fine. I don't even know who the villain is in Fantastic Four. I can't remember who the hell it was, but if it's just focused on that, Fantastic Four versus villain A, I don't need B and C and D and whatever to tie into the multiverse or whatever. It's
Like
unnecessary.
honestly, I don't even love that it looks like Silver Surfer and Galactus are going to be in this first
That's
Fantastic
too
Four
much.
movie. Like, come on. Like, look, where do you go? Like, if you start with Galactus, where do you go? You got
That is
nowhere to go.
I think that's the question because you remember Iron Man, like the first villain wasn't like, it wasn't like the Mandarin or anything like that. It was just very simple. It was Obadiah Stane, Tony Stark's elder rival in the company. That is it. Basic. Captain America,
Right.
Red Skull, Thor, whatever the hell that was, I can't
Loki,
remember.
oh, the
Loki, right.
Eliminator, but basically Loki.
What happened to just one on one with the great one stuff? Come on.
But again, if you're talking about, okay, I just thought about this. So if you want to talk about sequels,
Yeah.
okay, I think Iron Man, you could watch all three of them without seeing anything else. And like it kind of tells the story of Tony Stark. Except in Iron Man 3, you're gonna be like, what the fuck is he talking about? What is this New York stuff? What are
Yeah.
we
But even then, you only have to watch the Avengers. That's the
right,
only thing that's missing
right.
as far as context.
Um
Captain America, you can't do that. You'd have to stop at Winter Soldier, and then you'd have to
Captain
watch.
America. Wait, so Captain America, it's like, okay, you're in 1945. Okay, now you're in the present somehow. You don't even know how it happened. And like now there's another dude that like, okay, and he's also unfrozen. Wow, that's wild. And then like, oh, now there's all these dudes. Where did these dudes come from? Oh wait, now he's black? What the hell?
So you can't do that with Cap easily. Can't do that really with Thor. Yeah, can you do that kind of easily with Thor?
Not because Thor the Dark World doesn't really tie into anything. By the
Right,
time you get to Ragnarok, actually, you could just skip. There's some good Loki stuff in Thor: The Dark World, but like no,
right.
like if you went through and then to Love and Thunder, you would just be like, oh, who's this dude? Who's this green dude? But like, it's not complete. Like Thor is consistent. Like Captain America, though, it's like
There's too many branches.
what? Oh, okay, but you're talking about the balance between making money and doing what a sequel should do. I
Right,
think the problem with Marvel is they're trying to make too much. Like they've got too many things that they're trying to make money with, so
right.
everything is spread out, right? So yes, everything is expanded, but like I said, it's expanded in this movie over here that now I have to go watch and find, and then that's going to lead to this movie over here, which now I have to go watch and find, which is part of their plan. But again,
And they're
the
trying to.
reason why the reason why a lot of people are not into Marvel and superhero comics is because they feel like there's no good jumping on point. And I feel like the MCU is exactly the same way now. Because if you just want to watch this new Captain America coming up, you can't just watch it. You got to watch Captain America and the Winter Soldier or Falcon and Winter
Falcon
Soldier.
and Winter Soldier.
And then if you want to know more about that, then you got to watch Endgame.
Yep.
And like it's not, you can't just jump on.
So the MCU is trying to do I think the MCU is trying to do the comic book model where it's just like, oh, we have this story, but to get the context for every story, you need these Captain America books, these
No,
Thor books. No?
it's not a great model. It's not a great model for consistent storytelling. And it
Right.
even wasn't in the comics when that happened. I understand the whole point is to sell, is to get people to buy this book and to also buy this book. But really, what it does is it locks you into an audience of diehards and diehards only.
Yes.
Casuals are going to be out. Casuals are done with that. Like, no,
Casuals are out here waiting for the graphic novel of the big bound book of it.
not even that. They'll just bounce to something easier to follow. And like,
Okay. So if you had, I want you to look at camera three because James Gunn is watching on camera three. Yeah, there you go. So look at James Gunn. Hey James, how you doing? Tell James what he needs to do with this new DC Studios to avoid what is going on with the Marvel universe and like not have so much fatigue or people sick of it.
it might be too late already.
Really?
Yeah, because I hear with this Superman movie, like Green Lantern is in it, and like there's other dudes in it, and like
Oh my god.
I just want
Why are we trying to form the entire Justice League in the first fucking movie?
to tell a good,
Tell a Superman story
uplifting Superman story. Do you know I watched Superman 1978 with a tear in my eye because
because it's great. It's
I
simple. Simpler time.
I need hope in my life right now. That's what I need. And that's what Superman is. He's a freaking beacon of hope. And I don't need that beacon. I don't need no offense, but I don't need an idiot with a Green Lantern ring in the way of that beacon of hope that I so
All
desperately
right.
need
That
right now.
that feels like a personal shot at me,
Not a
but
personal
okay.
shot, but like I don't know. And maybe maybe it's not Green Lantern, but there's definitely other DC
DC
representation in
Studios.
this. Yeah, and like I don't like no, like why? Crypto, okay, fine. Like, yeah, it's a boy and his dog, and they both fly and they have superpowers. That's fine. Just show me that. I'll watch that.
Yeah.
I'm good with that. I don't need any. Just do the shit out of that. Make a Superman movie that people love, and then you can do whatever else you want. But you gotta get the first. You have to get Superman right. That is what the idiot, that's what Zack Snyder failed to do. He
Yeah.
did not get Superman right, and so the whole thing went off a cliff. You got to get, sorry, look,
He's
DC,
not wrong. He's not Teves is not wrong here.
the DC universe has to be centered on Superman, not
As
Batman,
as
not
boring as
any,
that is.
not anyone else. It has to be Superman because that is the place of gods and monsters. And like
Yeah.
that's what Superman is, okay?
We
Someone,
talk
yeah.
we talk about what people like, what people want, and that just weaves nicely into this next point that I have, and that comes with social media and this new anybody can be a reviewer quote unquote attitude in today's landscape. And I know that there are tons of people with a TikTok. Some have bigger followings than others, including this podcast to an extent. And there are there is an algorithm that people have to follow. Like there are things that they need to talk about to either get followers or keep their follower numbers up. So my whole question to you is like, how do we as content creators kind of balance commenting on the stuff that everybody is commenting on, like Marvel, like the DCEU, like Star Wars, so we can get followers and keep followers, but then also comment on the good stuff that's not of that ilk, that really kind of deserves its own shine, so to speak.
Honestly, I don't think we chase trends here. I think we just comment and talk about the stuff because we generally and genuinely like it. It
Right.
I'm not out here talking about, the popular thing du jour because it's the popular thing du jour. This is a conversation that I'd be having in a comic shop anyway. This is a
Right.
conversation I'd be having with my nerdy friends anyway. Doesn't matter that I'm not out here talking about it because
You're
it's what's hip. And if something like if you want to look, I think personally, I think it might be time to deep dive The Last Boy Scout because I think no,
Jesus.
sorry, not The Last Boy Scout, The Last Action Hero.
I
I
was
think
about to say, like, well, that's even more ridiculous. Like, how? Wait, let's go.
I think we might have to deep dive The Last Action Hero because it might have been Scream for action movies before we were able to deal with that concept.
Oh my
And I
god.
think we need to look at it to see what it has to say about the action genre. And I'm really excited to give that a rewatch with my thinking cap fully on. Not because it's popular, not because I'm looking for takes. It's because I'm a nerd and that's the shit I like to do, period.
So us as our podcast, we don't fall into that trap of we're reporting on stuff to just report on it because we're trying to get
No,
followers and keep our
never.
numbers up.
People fundamentally look, I've been out there, I've been at shows, I've talked to lots of people. People fundamentally don't want to hear
And this is
regurgitated takes. They don't want to hear shit that they hear over and over and over again.
and this is after you tell somebody for the thousandth time about the Breakfast Cereals podcast.
What I'm saying is people want to hear honest, pure thoughts on what your opinions are. People are interested
Right.
in other people's opinions. They're not interested in like takes. They don't want to hear their own. I mean, there's some people that want to hear their own ideas spat back at them, but like if you're one of those people, this isn't going to be the podcast for you because we talk about what isn't important to us and how we feel about it.
Right.
And
And
if you
like
like
and
that, you
well
listen, and if you don't like that, you don't listen.
and sometimes those things kind of intersect, but at the same time it's like how many like if for example something comes out and a lot of people are just like, "Oh, it sucks, it's bad." Like, so we're just gonna be two more of the fish in that pond?
Right, exactly. Like
Like, what's the point of that?
again, everybody for the longest time were like, the prequels suck. I knew that they didn't suck the first time I saw them.
Yeah,
They're fine. People were like, The Last Jedi sucks. I'm like, Last Jedi's might be probably the most interesting one of the three, but I mean, whatever. If you're just mad about, Luke throwing his lightsaber out the way, then I don't know what to tell you.
yeah. Let's end the podcast this way, just going off of that, because obviously there are things that everybody's watching, Marvel, Star Wars, whatever. I
Not
have
everybody.
watched, I have watched Skeleton Crew. Teeves has not, so we'll comment on that at a later date. But why don't we give some of the people either on streaming or full movies that maybe aren't getting the love that maybe they should? I got one or two things. I don't know if you have one or two things,
Got
but
some things.
I'm going to start with something from the horror genre, which we talk about all the time as being one of the last places to find really good original content and like really
Horror
interesting
genre,
stories.
keeping it alive, keeping
Keeping shit
original
going.
IP on the map. Jesus Christ.
So I'm gonna start with, because it's our favorite, it's our favorite production company, Blumhouse. I'm gonna start with Speak No Evil, directed by James Watkins, James McAvoy, Mackenzie Davis. It's about an American couple vacationing in Italy, and a whole bunch of crazy shit goes down, and it's creepy, it's suspenseful.
Wait, what movie is this?
Speak No Evil, James
Oh,
McAvoy.
with James McAvoy. Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Sorry,
That
I thought you were talking about Talk to Me with the hand.
well,
No,
that's the other one.
that's a
I
great movie.
I gave that plenty of shine, but Speak No Evil was just creepy as fuck, and I loved it. And I just like, it's not original. It is based on a story by Christian and Mads Taftrup. I hope I'm getting that name right. But between the way that they still told the story and the performances, specifically by James McAvoy, basically being the creepiest, scariest, most fucking threatening human being I've seen in a long time. Incredible. It's a crisp 110 minutes. Like it starts and it's done, and you're on to the next thing. And it made money. Thieves, Speak No Evil cost $15 million to make, and it made like close to 80.
Yeah, we used to make movies like that, not so much anymore. Listen, we're gonna later on, I promise you, we're gonna do a podcast where we just bring shine to the new shit. We're just gonna be talking about new shit the whole time.
Yeah.
But the first piece of new shit to get you started with is a film called It's What's Inside. That movie is by
Mm.
Greg Jardine. It is a fun. I can't say too much about it without giving it away, but just trust me. It's on the big end. It's on Netflix. It's
The
fun.
big N.
It's fun. It is very clever. I think you should check it out. I think you will have a fun time with it. Yeah, tell them Teebs sent you when you go to the big end. They'll know. Oh, Teebs. Oh, all right. Okay.
Tell John Netflix that Steve sent you.
Okay. I think we officially call the CEO John Netflix.
So Teves, you know that I am the pre-most aficionado of action movies on this podcast. So I am going to recommend to the people. This is also, I believe, it's on the big end. You can tell John Netflix that Kid Phoenix sent you on this one, and that is Monkey Man, directed by Dev Patel, produced by Jordan Peele and his company. And I can't necessarily call it just John Wick with Indian American actors, but it kind of, I can understand how people may like go with that, just with how the action is filmed. But there's a lot going on in this movie. Like Dev Patel plays just somebody called Kid, and he is a kung fu martial arts, just gun fu person. And it's an intriguing story of just like how he grows and is, just making his life while trying to, just he just wants to live, and all this crazy shit continues to happen to him. And it's one of those movies where it's like you didn't hear a lot about it, but then you watch it and you're like, holy fuck, why did I not hear about this movie? Why did nobody tell me about this shit? I'm telling you now, Monkey Man, go see it. If you're into like old school samurai movies like Our Father, for example, you'll totally be in on this.
Yeah, again, you kind of put me on the spot here, so I do not have another one ready, but when we do that pod, I will definitely have some stuff ready to go.
And we will have all of that and more on future podcasts. It is the Teves and Kid Phoenix versus podcast. We are out here. We are back. We are closing out 2024, going into 2025. And yeah, cool things on the horizon. We are working out. It is a long time coming. We are working out the details of this, getting the right guest, getting the homework done. Teves, we are going to close the year with the celebration of film in 1999.
Finally.
I'm sorry it took listen, we had to find the right guest. And I think we found the right guest. And his name, friend of the podcast, Vinny Alvendia.
Like to have Vinny back on. That's
If you
good.
remember Vince on the Saturday morning cartoons draft, it's going to be a lot of that. It's going to be a lot of that. Until then, like, follow, subscribe to the podcast. Links are in the description. Follow us everywhere. We have full video episodes on YouTube now, including clips thanks to Riverside AFM and their wondrous
Riverside?
Riverside motherfucker. Their intuitive
Don't say that.
AI
Then I can't use the clip.
and their intuitive AI system, which is allowing me to like cut the time I have to work on editing this podcast more than in half. But anything else you have to say? Any games? Oh, quick thoughts about Marvel Rivals, because that came out.
Yeah.
We played that. Very much Overwatch feel. Very into it. Probably need more than a few more hours, but going to be a busy week for me because I have final reviews at work. So I'm personally, first of all, glad that Teves could fit this in his schedule tonight because there's no other time this week I could probably do it because I'll be burned the fuck out by like Wednesday.
Fair enough.
But Marvel Rivals, give it a chance. And you want to know why the people should give it a chance, Teves, and why I was hesitant?
Why?
It's free. It is
It's free. It's
100%
free.
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 And Teves, I know what people are gonna say. It's free because you only get to play like 6 characters and the rest of DLC. No, hell no. All 33 characters playable at launch. There you go.
Free.
Check out Marvel Rivals. Until next week, we are going to get out of here. Yeah. I don't know why it keeps going that one, but you know, we're working this out. We're just working this out. God damn it. This is why I enjoy the software, so to speak. Sometimes I like it because sometimes it works, and then other times it doesn't work. So I'll have to put the outro in after the fact. But until next week, like we're saying, other than tonight, Riverside FM been fantastic, been great. I'll have to put something in post. But that's okay. That's okay. I'll work this out. Until next week, we're out of here. Series 4 continues. Peace out.